record. So it's recording now. And then I'll get started. I'll hopefully get through this fairly quickly. I mean, with just a couple of us here, hopefully I can get through it fairly quickly and you'll get lots of ideas. And then if you want to build upon anything else, we can have that conversation. And if not, we can maybe chat a little bit more and then go on our way. So you guys just let me know. And if any point you have any questions, you can just get my attention. Just because we have a smaller number right now, it's a lot easier for me to just pause and answer questions if you have any. So let me know or take notes. Alrighty, and with that, I'll get started. So this presentation is specifically about games and activities for teens and young adults, as well as activities and games to do as families or with younger siblings, you know, a variety of different kind of relationships and environments. But the main thing is how can we support, you know, our older youth and young adults and staying active and staying healthy during, you know, this pandemic right now. There's a lot of changes for people and people are knocked out of their routine, and for some individuals, they have no idea what to do. For others, you have some ideas that maybe you want some additional support. So you're more than welcome to reach out to me at any time or anyone else. But yeah, my name is Beth Hudson. I work for the Aboriginal Sports Circle of the NWT as the Leadership Development Coordinator right now. And I also sit as a member of Play NWT. And if you don't know what Play NWT stands for, it stands for Physical Literacy and You, Northwest Territories. So it's called the Play Group. They're starting to get recognized nationally in different regions, and essentially it's just sport and physical activity, health and wellness workers, education workers, and other interested individuals can be a part of this group, and we share ideas for staying active, developing physical literacy, and working together instead of separately in terms of making sure we're all doing our best to work towards the collective vision for health and wellness in the NWT. And it's a pretty fun group to be a part of. We get to talk about all the fun stuff in games. And so that's another great organization to follow on social media. I do know that we are sharing lots of, you know, tips and tricks and ideas to stay active and whatnot during these times, as well as hopefully when things begin to get back to normal, again, sharing lots of resources there. So just another good place to follow for more ideas and whatnot. So the way that this presentation will work and the order it will go through, I'm just going to quickly touch on some points that I've talked about before in previous presentations, which is just quickly going over the holistic model. So I wanted to build this into some of the programs we already deliver. So our organization offers the Aboriginal coaching modules, as well as various Indigenous workshops for Indigenous and non-Indigenous communities. And through the Aboriginal Sports Circle national body and the Coaching Association of Canada and a few other partners, they developed a holistic model for physical activity and wellness. And I'll just touch on what needs are for each person and how essentially we just want to look at our health and wellness as a whole. It's not just about physical, you know, fitness or, you know, working on different aspects of, you know, weightlifting or cardio. It's not that. It's thinking about the individual as a whole. So what can we do to make the person feel better, you know, think better, and hopefully feel healthier? All of those sorts of things. So I'm taking that kind of approach and perspective to what kind of games and activities I'll be presenting. And then the rest of the points there are just outlining some of the areas I'll kind of touch on. And if you want to share any ideas you have, or if you have any questions at the end, then we can have that discussion. So very quickly, this is what the holistic model looks like visually. And again, a lot of these you can apply different contexts to. So it's not meant to be like, you know, everyone has the same physical, cultural, mental, and spiritual needs. It's different for every individual. And it's simply about, you know, what are different areas in our lives that impact our health and wellness? And what can we do to make sure that we're meeting those needs in all of those different areas? So again, it's not just looking at the physical side of things, but also thinking about the other ways, like our mental health, you know, our access to our, you know, our culture and cultural activities, as well as, you know, how we connect to our own spirits. And you can interpret that however you want. It's just, you know, such a vital part of everyone's life, as you can kind of see in the brief descriptions there. And so what does that mean? So the most important thing is that we just want to understand that in a sense of meeting the needs of our communities, meeting the needs of our youth. It's really all about balance, understanding that, you know, we can really excel in some areas, but maybe there are other areas we can improve upon. So how can we do that? It's super hard and challenging right now with all the additional stress going on to sometimes be able to put plans together or come up with your own creative ideas, which is totally understandable. For everyone in our families right now, we're dealing with all of these, you know, different stressors on our lives. And so hopefully this presentation will just give you some ideas of maybe things you can do either for your work or at home or with yourself. I just wanted to quickly share these guidelines, not to make anyone feel guilty or put pressure on you to be a certain way, but I thought it was really important just to share what some of the data and research is in terms of what we should be aiming for activity within our families, with our children, and with ourselves. So this is put out by the Canadian Society for Exercise Physiology. I'm actually a member of that organization through my personal training, and they're one of the national bodies that publish this sort of information. What this diagram represents is what a day should look like for a youth between 5 and 17 years old. And that can vary a little bit, but you can see how sleep is really the most important thing. Hopefully there's not too many teenagers struggling with sleep right now, even though it might be a little bit odd or at odd hours. But that sweat and that step part is so important to look at, because we're not getting enough steps throughout our day, and then we're not getting enough vigorous activities throughout our day. So this is going to help you hopefully build some of those things throughout your day now, as we are working from home and really stuck at home. And I'll draw your attention quickly to that sit component. So you can see there it says no more than 2 hours per day of recreational screen time is recommended. The recreational point is the most important kind of part there, because it's not saying in total, it's recognizing that, you know, children who need to use the laptops or screens for school or for other purposes, that's of course reasonable. What we're trying to do is reduce their screen time to no more than 2 hours a day so that they are spending more time hopefully moving. And again, as parents or caregivers, don't feel guilty about this right now. It's not about, you know, creating perfect children by following these perfect guidelines. That's not it at all. Just do your best, again, as parents and caregivers and workers, just to try to encourage these positive behaviors so that we can transition to having healthier communities. And so with that, I'm gonna get right into games and stuff already. And so as you can see, what I have here are just ideas for certain weekly challenges you could do as a family or with older youth in different capacities. So one thing that already exists are online activity challenges. I know that a lot of us are already familiar with them, whether that's through our organization. So the Aboriginal hosts their traditional games every week. So parents and families can submit quick snippets of videos of them trying it out to win some really cool prizes. The Mackenzie Recreation Association, of course, is there. Weekly activity challenges as well, just promoting movement and being active, and they have some great prizes. The NWT-RPA just put out their scavenger hunt for the North, which is really exciting. So you can go over to their page and check them out. But again, just encouraging unique recreation and movement ideas. And then there might be some things locally. So I know right now I'm in Fort Simpson, and we have a community walking challenge right now where locally individuals can sign up and do that. Erin, do you have a question?
Yeah, did I unmute myself?
You are unmuted right now.
Okay. No, is MRI still actually doing the weekly? I think she just did it for like a 30-day, and then
yeah,
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I'm not
sure.
I would imagine that there'll be some more stuff coming out here soon.
Yeah.
And I only say that just because I know we're all trying to kind of think creatively, and we've all kind of been like, it seems like doing these kind of like prizes and challenges is kind of like one way to be successful about it. So I would really anticipate that that's going to happen. But of course, like, I mean, maybe I should ask you.
Not that I know. not that the board like directs her in that way, but can you just briefly tell me about your walking challenge, please?
Yeah, actually, I will touch on that. So if you can check out, as an example for this, the Fort Simpson bulletin board, and I'll actually send it to you, Erin, just so you have it. But what they're doing is they're kind of mirroring almost like a walk to tuck-ish sort of challenge, where they're saying for the month of May, if you can walk 40 kilometers total, so just over a kilometer a day, and record it on an independent sheet and have a family member or friend kind of sign off for it to vouch for it. And at the end of the month, submit your timesheet. Then they're gonna essentially do another sort of like prize draw. I'm not entirely sure what their plan is, but you know, I think everyone that successfully completes it will get a shirt. And then, yeah, I think they're calling it like the walk to the ferry and back challenge, because from the town to the ferry crossing, it's 20 kilometers. So yeah, that's what they're labeling it. We're trying to be creative that way. And of course,
oh, thanks, Beth.
But yeah,
that's Simpsons, right?
Yeah. Check it out, and if you want or you can't find it, just let me know. I'll send it your way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That would be good for me, Erin. I walk 45 minutes 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go, right? So it's kind of a fun way to highlight those people that are already doing it too, and just, I think it's a great idea. So I'm hoping more of these can pop up so we can share more of these moving forward as well, because we want to highlight what the success stories are going on across the territory and beyond. So.
Well, I have 2 long-haired chihuahuas. They don't know what's going on with all these walks.
Right? Dogs are like some of our greatest companions right now, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Kids and dogs. Yeah, on that note, just in terms of other things you can kind of do, this is just a starting point, but you know, try and set out a weekly activity plan if you have the ability or time to do that. And again, not trying to put pressure on yourselves to be perfect to what your schedule or activity is, but you know, being able to actually write down, okay, I'm walking my dog 3 times a day at these times, or either planning an event or having a journal and taking note of it. That's one really good way to track activity. So as a family, you know, at the start or the end of the week, you can all have a check-in and say, was I active this week? What did I enjoy? What did I not enjoy? You know, starting to facilitate those kinds of conversations, just so everyone can kind of maybe connect a little bit more to what their activity levels are. And maybe if they're feeling stressed or they need extra support, maybe they'll recognize that, oh, maybe if I'm a little bit more active on these days, it'll help. Or just to keep people engaged, keep it in the back of your mind. Something to try if you guys have been struggling as families to get out and be active on a regular basis. We just talked about walking and movement challenges, so I won't touch on that too much more, but again, you can really think creatively as communities as well, and even as families and friends. You know, there's no rule that says you can't challenge your friend group, whatever friend group it is, to some sort of challenge, and keep each other accountable. Some people don't thrive in that environment, but some people do. So if you think that would work for you, I definitely recommend testing it out, and yeah, just collaborating in different ways. And then these are some larger scale games and activities that you will have to put some more time and effort into, and whether that's you or the older youth you're working with, because a lot of these things they can actually do on their own with just a little bit of support. A lot of the suggestions I have here, I'm trying to do without too much equipment required. Hopefully the things that you see here are things that you could do already without having to really leave your home to go buy stuff, or if it is, it's easily accessible and in fairly safe locations. So just quickly going over some of the points here. So geocaching and different outdoor pursuits. I have it starred just because depending on your background and your spirituality and whatnot, there's different protocols for certain things. Like if you were going to go medicine picking, for example, it's a good idea to be maybe familiar with the protocols for those sorts of things. But I just wanted to quickly make sure I mentioned that. But really everything here are things that have been successful in a lot of the programming I've done with youth, and things that I know that they thrive in if it's something they feel passionate about. So I'm going to try and give you a lot of different ideas here to hopefully be able to come up with something for everyone. So different things, like if you don't know what geocaching is a GPS sort of hide and seek game where you can look it up and Google it, but teenagers can even use their smartphones now to geocache, and they might not have it in super small communities, but you can actually hide your own geocaches and upload them to the system should you want to, and that's something that a lot of families have fun with, or a lot of older teens have fun with. I know in Yellowknife, for example, there's a ton of geocaches hidden around, and the whole point is that you're supposed to find them discreetly without being seen by others, and then you can online mark if you found it or not, and it's just a fun little way to get outside creatively. So if you haven't looked into geocaching, I recommend it. And if that piques anyone's interest on the call right now that works in the GNWT and knows Dale, well, in Hay River, she has some interesting ideas about a geocaching activity thing. So maybe touch base with her if you want to steal that idea from her. But other things that older teens can do or older youth can do are things like camping, even in the backyard. Let them set up their own little camp in the backyard. You know, a lot of them can safely cut wood, start their own little fire for cooking and that sort of stuff. Obviously, it's a case-by-case basis and what your family is comfortable with, but something that kids love to do is really get that sort of sensory and experiential experience when they're active, and camping is a great way to do that. And all of the things that could be included within that. You could do scavenger hunt. So like I said, I've touched on the NWT RPA one, which is definitely adult friendly and older teen friendly. You know, it's not just go find a colored leaf and a stone, which it can still be fun, but it's adding in some different components, maybe some greater challenge for those that are interested, whether it's looking for specific birds or whatnot. Gardening could be of interest, you know, building or carpentry. So encouraging youth, if they're interested in those sorts of things, to experience it. You know, you can give your child a hammer and nails and some wood and say, make something. It's okay to give them that risk. They need to learn. And as an older teen, hopefully, you know, as long as it's safe for them, they'd be able to maybe do that and be creative. Right, you know, including just some of the on the land things, whether that be archery, trapping, hunting, fishing, just to remember that those do count as physical pursuits and, you know, activity that's really great for you. So, and for a variety of reasons. So really encouraging those sorts of on the land activities. Hide and seek variations. So for older kids, this is great in terms of maybe you play hide and seek with objects. So again, kind of taking on a scavenger hunt sort of thing, or building some kind of like treasure map and treasure chest. And that, you know, of course, kind of sounds like younger youth lingo. You can age it up a little bit, but it could be a fun way if you have some older youth that enjoy, you know, having like little competitions or some fun together where they take turns hiding things and leaving clues to find it. There are things like string obstacle courses. So I talked a lot about obstacle courses for younger youth. A string course is where you literally buy a large thing of yarn or whatever kind of string you have, and you weave it all around, either inside or outside, whether it's in your house or outside your house, in all sorts of ways. And what you're going to try and do is hook a keychain onto that string and have someone try and follow that string while holding the keychain and not letting go the whole time. So it's almost like a large knot kind of activity where this person's going to try and get out of this course without letting go, and it's a challenge, and you can change it up however you want, and that could work. Paint wars, so you can actually make biodegradable paints to have fun outside with that can be washed away by rain and melting snow. That's completely dependent on the level and interest, of course, of your home. I don't want to encourage making giant messes, but now's a great time to, you know, leave our comfort zones and let our families maybe be a little bit messy. So if that's something that maybe kids would love to do, I know you can do it with cornstarch and flour and some food dye. Some youth love it, especially teens. So something to consider if you're open to that. And then considering different water sports as well. If your family is safe around water and has that level of comfortability, to not forget about the different environments that exist out there. So if they like canoeing or kayaking, you can do those safely through physical distancing protocol as a family. So just remember to keep those sorts of things in mind as well. You can try building your own game. So one way to think about this is taking a small tabletop board game, your favorite board game, and making it life-sized. And you can take this idea and run with it in a bunch of different ways. Some people make chessboards, some people make giant Jenga, some people will actually make like a Monopoly sort of board game in their house or living room. You can be really creative with that, but sometimes, you know, depending on what your team's interests are, they might love that. As well as just basic skill development. So I know a lot of these you might have already tried or have thought of, but just suggesting things like baking or cooking, or you could make your own cookbook. You know, include your favorite recipes or experiment with different ones, and they can add them into the recipe book, and that's something they can keep forever, which is really fun. They could try beading, depending on what's going on in your community. There are some different traditional skills being taught through workshops and things like hide tanning, different land-based skills, you know, puzzling or doing different kinds of logic puzzles and games. And then again, depending on your ability, accessibility, you could do things like raft building even. That's fun to do on a larger scale when you're older and you can do it safely, or, you know, taking some sort of water safety or survival course sort of thing online, and then going out and testing it out. Why not? Go try it out and see how you do. Of course, back pocket activities are also really important. And the back pocket activities are those activities that you can do without too much prep time leading up to it. And I know this is something that a lot of people are after. They often ask for it for younger kids, but it's nice to have these things for the older ones as well. And some of them are gonna look like things that younger kids love to do. And it's true, the younger ones love this, but these are some examples of activities that older teens are still gonna love to do. Sometimes they find it nostalgic. Sometimes they think, oh, I did that when I was younger and I loved it. Or sometimes they're all in right away. So one thing you can do, again, if you can get these materials safely, is encourage some kind of Nerf gun or Nerf war with the teens in your house. That could be really fun. You know, individuals of all ages have fun with that. You could do some kind of fun science experiment. So like the Mentos and Coke one is always good. Again, it is good to do a little bit of research on this, so you're doing things safely. Don't do anything that you don't feel safe doing. But the Mentos and Coke challenge is always fun to see with youth, if you can go out in a field and do it, or do it in an environment where it would be safe to do so. Having different backyard games available. So things like cornhole, so like a beanbag toss, having horseshoes, bocce, frisbee, those sorts of things available to use and grab quickly. That's an option to do. Minute to win it games, which you can Google. There's a ton. So there's a lot of different challenges and fun laughing things that you can do. You just have to look it up. But you can easily find lots of equipment for those things and challenge each other to it, whether it's, you know, your team's going off by themselves to do it or doing it all together as a family. And also, I don't want to ignore the fact that there are some games, consoles, virtual reality things out there now that are actually really good for online activity games for families, or even if it's just on your Xbox or whatever you have, if you have something like that. There actually are some games that exist that are pretty fun, whether that's Dance Dance Revolution or another kind of dance game or another kind of physical activity challenge game. Really use what resources are available to and maybe encourage that. If you have a gamer kid, maybe you can have a little bit of buy-in by suggesting something like that, or maybe not, but it's worth a try if you think it might help them just get a little bit more activity in their day. So for fitness, I'm not going to go too much into this. I wanted to include it just because there are a lot of older youth who have, you know, interest in these sorts of things and might want to participate, or maybe they might be willing to give it a try. But there's tons of fitness things out there you can look up, and if you want me to point you in a certain direction, you can always contact me. I am a personal trainer. But beyond that, just some examples of fitness related things, like a learn to run program. So, you know, helping them to create a program, or finding them a program of, you know, running for a minute, walking for 3 minutes, and how to, you know, build up to run a marathon or whatever their goals might be. You can get access to online boot camps and different fitness courses, whether they're for free or through purchase. There's different options available. YouTube is great for that. There's tons of fitness apps and programs out there. So I encourage you to look into that. And again, if you want more information, you can always contact me. I can help you with that. If you want me to give you some more specifics, the Participation app is one that I want to bring some attention to. I haven't actually used it myself, but I've heard a lot of the research and stuff that's gone into it. And I know a lot of the people and experts that have put work into it. So I'm just going by their own reputations, but it's something worthwhile to check out. They are the ones who put out the Community Better Challenge. And it's just another fun way that you can track your fitness and activity in a fun way, as well as other sorts of fitness and activity trackers, whether that be simply on your phone. So iPhones have a built-in pedometer feature already that you can activate if you want somebody to help track your steps or track your teen's steps. You can use Fitbits or other sorts of trackers like that. And of course, you also don't have to feel comfortable using those things either. You don't need those to track your fitness. You can always, guess what a kilometer might be or measure one out and, maybe set up a training after that. But yeah, you just have to see what you're comfortable with and if you're interested, and maybe go with that. And then of course, if you have youth that are in a certain sport specifically, they can always look at what their national or provincial/territorial sports organizations are putting out, because tons of organizations are putting stuff out. So if you have an athlete who wants to work on their fitness, they just have to connect with their sports organizations and see what's available, because there's tons of stuff being offered right now online. So if you haven't done that yet with a youth that wants to be an Olympic soccer player, they can do that. Moving on to kind of more wellness and health sort of things. Of course, yoga is super popular. People love to do it. People want more of it. Meditation and other sorts of wellness things. There's so many of those things online. And again, I can help you get that if you need it. We have stuff both locally, territorially, and nationally all over the place. Wellness walks, so simply just getting out and walking. Maybe you want to add you're going to walk to a certain place, to a certain park. And you're going to sit and just stretch for a little bit, or you're going to spend 5 or 10 minutes there as a family just to appreciate being out in nature and coming back. You could build your own greenhouse, or try to build your own greenhouse, or planter box, or apply for a box in a community garden. That's an option for a lot of us, which is great. And with the way things are, a lot more of our local agricultural communities are putting things out for us. So whether that's seed or dirt or manure, or all sorts of things that we need, compost bins, worms. There's a lot of programming available right now for us that we can access to get those things, which is really awesome. And a really unique pro of kind of what's going on right now is how so many places are thinking creatively so we can access their stuff. Explore local trails, of course, use precautions as needed, whether that be, COVID-19 protocol, or just being respectful of the trail systems that you have around your community, encouraging that sort of exploration. A mood tracker, gratitude journal is really good to have. So sometimes what I recommend are almost just family check-ins every day, where you can just hang a chart up somewhere in your house with every individual on there, and they can just put a smiley face or a sad face, or use stickers or colors to identify how they're feeling each day. And hopefully that we can also promote a little bit more kindness to each other that way, where you get up, you see that your little sister put that she's not in the greatest mood today. Well, maybe you have to be a little bit kinder that day. And it helps for other people to understand where you're at too. Something that I really recommend for families to do. And of course, your older teens can help with designing that and putting it together. Depends how creative you want to get. Coloring, mandala coloring, those sorts of things, always highly recommended. It's good to have those on hand. Sometimes we buy them and forget about them, or we buy them and we put them away and we never see them again. But now is a great time to use them if you have those things. So maybe take a little bit of an inventory of what you already have or what might work for you, and just keep it visible and available. I know teens struggle a lot with the "I'm bored" sort of conversations. I mean, all kids do. And it's great to just have more and more options available for them. And hopefully they get to a point where they can kind of freely rotate between these things and hopefully keep themselves busy throughout the day, so they're not so much on you, making you work with them, so that you can get some work done. I know the struggle. And then of course, there's so many different ways to be crafty and creative as well during these times. And there's tons of resources out there. And another area I can help you get connected with if you want more ideas. And then kind of the last point I just want to touch on is just some professional development. So some areas that people haven't quite thought of yet is, well, I have an older teen or an older youth that's actually interested in sport and recreation. And, we're not really doing too much schoolwork right now, or maybe, we're missing a little bit of that structure. You can actually sign them up for some teen-friendly online trainings. And a lot of these are 16 plus, but a lot of them are actually all ages, or you can sign them up for all ages. It's really great if you do have, a youth that's interested in health and wellness or some kind of sport and recreation. They can go on and do this, or even just adults and general population, of course. If you're interested in these courses, you can do them for fairly low cost. Not all of them are free, and most of them aren't, but they're all fairly affordable in the grand scheme of things. They're like $10, $15, maybe a little bit more. And that's just usually the administration fees, because you get an online profile that you can access. And the reason I bring that up is because that's a resume booster and builder for all of us and teens as well. That if they can get out of the way now, that's going to look really great if they go into university for these programs. And whether it's, used to get them into that university program or used to help them get part-time work at the campus recreation centers where they're going to go and attend these programs, it's just something to think about that they could use this time to do right now. And some examples of that would be things like the Sport for Life online campus. Those are some examples right there of some of the things we're offering right now. Some of the interesting ones might be the Canadian Indigenous Culture Training, or for any athletes or young athletes doing the Head Start Pro athlete course. And again, they're all for fairly affordable prices. And then the Coaching Association of Canada also has some e-learning things online. I list these two organizations because we partner with them frequently. But again, some other examples of maybe your kid wants to get into coaching, or long-term, they want to start volunteering with some of the amazing, territorial sports organizations we have, and they want to start going to NAG as coaches and whatnot. If they can get these trainings out of the way now, again, it just sets them up for success long-term, because they could do things like the sport nutrition course or making headway, or those sorts of online courses that we actually need to attend these big games like Arctic Winter Games. So if they are interested in that kind of stuff, recommend just maybe suggesting it or considering it. And then of course, just to kind of wrap up the idea portion of this presentation, some other ideas and things are home and garden improvement. So again, if you're brave enough and you have the capacity to do so, allowing them to paint their own room or make changes in their personal spaces. It is good to put the onus on them. Maybe work on some sort of like budgeting or accessibility sort of work with them. Maybe considering outdoor spaces. So by that, I mean, if you have a big enough yard or some big enough space outside, a teen could, set up their own space in that backyard. You come to an agreement as a family where it's not, they can set up their own lawn chair, their own little table, and they know that, for the time being, that's their space outside that they can access when they want some alone time, and that everyone else can kind of leave them alone. Meal prepping, grocery shopping, or any other kind of list making, trying to include them in that. So at least they're developing some, other life skills that maybe we can kind of work a little bit more on now that school isn't quite happening. So just trying to give them different life skills, develop different life skills. One way to help with, creatively do chores around the house is to do a chore bingo. So actually put together like a big square bingo sheet and write in different chores throughout that bingo. And if they, either get a blackout or whatever pattern you want for that week or whatever it is you want, that they can, win prizes, or they can win an allowance or cash, or just to make it fun somehow. That's one way you can maybe creatively get them moving to help around the house a little bit more. And then of course, promoting things like self-care. Again, the mood boards, maybe they want to put together a vision board. Maybe they want to organize a space a certain way, organize, the basement or rec room a certain way. Maybe have a spa day where maybe you turn the heat up for a day and you wear your summer clothing and you play, Hawaiian music, and you encourage those kinds of creative theme days just to have some fun. not forgetting about the sprinkler this spring or in summer. So if you have a sprinkler, setting that outside and really encouraging just some fun family time out there, or building your own slip and slide. Of course, I recommend that for older youth. Not so much the younger ones, because there are some risks involved with that, but it can be super, super fun if you're open for it. And there's tons of other stuff like that too. And so I didn't want to overwhelm everyone with too many ideas, but that really wraps up the bulk of what I had for suggestions for today. So if you want to ever get in touch with me, you're more than welcome to just connect with me on social media. But my email and my phone number are there, and then that is my current position. So yeah, that is everything for today. And if you want to talk more, by all means. But yeah, what do you guys think?
Good job, Beth.
Yay, thank you, Erin.
Yeah. Lots of good ideas.
Yeah. You're always a what's the phrase? You always have such a load of information.
I know.
She gives you great attention.
I have so much to say always, hey?
Yeah.
And you know what? It's funny because I spent most of my day yesterday actually talking to Dale and Amanda and Maria from the library, and you were another one that I thought of because, and I'm going to say it because Gloria and I both have this task that we have been, I don't know what I want to say, dictated.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
Good word.
So, because I love some of your ideas, and I've written some of them down because they've kind of given me on how we can do this. So bear with me here, because first I was given instructions to do it a certain way, and then today on our meeting before talking, before this, it was kind of explained differently. Anyway, the idea is, so we've been doing these fun little daily activities, right? For people to participate in, whether they want to or not. Yeah. Kind of for anybody, it doesn't have to be, there wasn't any prizes around it at the beginning because I tried to go that route, and now the idea that we're being asked to do is, so one for basically kids, so after school program, 2 seniors, and 3 anybody. So we're being asked to post each week 3 different activities for those 3 categories. So I would have one, Gloria would have one, Stephanie would have one. The way it was brought forth in writing was that it needed to be a week-long activity. They would register their name on it on a Monday. They would, by Wednesday, kind of send a progress report, basically, in like a photo or whatever of what they've been doing. And then by Friday, post like a final. Yeah. Whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So my challenge, the biggest thing was, what do you give somebody, or those 3 categories, something to do that takes a whole week to do? Yeah. Like, now,
it's gonna have to be like a cumulative thing. Like, you're gonna have to really like consider distances or time spent on stuff. So it could be like you have to do 15 minutes a day of something. You could maybe frame it that way, where they have to like somehow time themselves to do stuff. I mean, it's all going to be by like personal reporting, of course, right? I mean, you could add in that element of tracking, but that would be like so much work to do, because you'd have to make sure everyone has the same tracker, and so I, just trying to measure by self-reported time and distance is really the best way to do it. And yeah, like the way the reporting that they're doing in Simpson, for example, is they have to identify a community member or friend that will like sign the paper for them, or like someone they can safely physically distance with to sign the paper. But that's really the only way I would recommend doing it, is including that self-reporting feature, because it shouldn't be anyone else's job to like heavily monitor someone else's free time.
Yeah.
especially if they're trying to participate in, you know, kind of like a health challenge or something to make them feel better. Because anything else is going to make them lose interest potentially. So like really self-reporting is the best way to do it, in my opinion, of course. And then, yeah, just trying to think creatively in that way, which could be, I guess that is a challenge, right? But that's kind of all you can really do. But if you have like specific ideas, I can always help with that too.
Yeah. See, and I like that, and Gloria can tell me what she thinks, but I feel like the whole idea of doing the little thing every day is kind of defeating what we're being told to do.
Yeah.
I don't mean that like, I just mean that's what I'm gonna end up, you know, getting told. Wasn't the point. And I always, when people come up with ideas, I love the ideas, and I hate being such a Debbie Downer sometime, but Gloria understands, you know, the one behind us is the one who I can just hear what she's gonna say. You know, I love the ideas. So I've talked to Dale, actually, she contacted me a while ago about her whole Fit Cash idea, and I love that idea. And I was thinking maybe something along those lines. So really, they could do a couple just in a day, right? Like, oh, I'm gonna go do this one, and oh, okay, well, I'll keep those coordinates for tomorrow. Like, or they could do it all in one day. But then again, that's the purpose of a week-long thing.
Yeah, for sure, it does. That is challenging.
Yeah, I don't know how I'm gonna keep people interested in a whole week. Like,
no, I know.
Yeah,
I know it's definitely a challenge. I mean, one thing you could do is just see what, like, you could put together different activities of things you know are also going on. So like, for example, like workshops we're running, or like something else like that, where then they have to do like 1 or 2 a week or something, whatever. But I mean, it's still not ideal. I understand your challenge.
Well, and then so then on today, you know, I'm trying to bring this forward. Like, how do you keep people interested for an entire week? And then now today, it seems like, you know, she's giving the idea of, oh, Gloria can put out one coloring page for the kids, and then whoever did it by the end of the week can just show that they did it. To me, I don't see how that's any nicer than just putting little things daily. But
yeah, no, for sure. I mean, even on that line, I mean, you're right. That is really hard, because I think tracking that will be a challenge. But again, I think what you have to do is just kind of say, like, you know, we're going to put the onus on the participants to just do some kind of, again, just put it in the hands of them to be the ones just somehow self-reporting. And like, it's too much to expect like an individual to be on top of tracking other people's stuff, which I know is kind of what you're being asked to do in a certain way. But really just trying to fight for again, just trying to be creative and think outside the box. And like I said, let me know what works and what doesn't, and like how things go. And depending on how things go, if there are things coming up, I'm more than happy to chat.
Well, it's funny you brought that minute to win games up. I was on that site yesterday, and it was awesome. But with the social distancing on, a lot of these games don't work because you don't have any competition other than your family. So it's going to be hard to get games up and going.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do a minute to win it, what you could do is actually have participants record their times. And then depending on the participants, like if you have like 10 people registered, then what you could do is like send an email out every time updating, like this person got this time and this person got this time when they did their minute to minute challenge, or like this child did this challenge in a minute and 42 seconds and this person did it in 2. I mean, you don't necessarily want to do that with younger kids that are going to be really discouraged by tracking those sorts of things. But I mean, for some older participants, they might enjoy that kind of stuff. Or, you know, it took me this long to do 20 push-ups or something on this day. I don't know. It could be anything like that, right? But
yeah, I like that idea. And I mean, you know, along those ideas, that we played a game recently with my sister, brother-in-law over in New Zealand and my parents, we played things and we just sent our, you know, things on WhatsApp, like our answers kind of thing. You know, that something like what you were saying could be easily done that way, you know, and then you just put it out to everybody sort of thing.
Exactly.
Here's my we're not supposed to spend a lot of time on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Like,
that's the thing. So anytime someone asks you to track anything, that's going to be a lot of time. It's going to be a lot of time. That's the only thing. So, I mean, it's going to depend on your numbers too. Like depending on how, like, you know, I guess it's different from like a large community to a small one, but that still doesn't excuse like the time that it could take. So that's why I'm saying I think you should really like try it out and then like, you know, talk to us about it, you know, and see how it's going. And maybe we can, you know, I'll just have a call about it.
The other thing is, one brush, she's saying don't take a lot of time, but on the other hand, she wants us to log all our time and everything we do.
Yeah, it's really, really tough, but I mean, it might be good at least to gather the information and just to be like, hey, like if you want an in-depth tracking plan, like this is, you know, this is the reality. And sometimes people just don't know that, or just, I mean, I know, again, I know what's going on, but at least you have also the advice of other professionals, I'm sure, that would be willing to, I don't know if it's going to help, but it's something.
I wish.
Yeah.
I would love to be able to just, you know, we were posting, like I used to post Jessica's stuff all the time. And your guys' stuff, your little challenges as well. I was posting those, but it sounds like I'm being told not to because I'm spending too much time on social media doing that.
Which is
what
we're doing now.
I have the participation app and I love it, by the way. So if you want to know anything about it.
Yeah.
And you know what? They have these amazing little 2, 3 minute, 4 minute articles, like, you know, and you can share them. When I found an interesting one, I would share it. But again, now I feel like I can't even do that. Like, yeah, I mean, so from all these conversations, I have kind of thought about more so doing some scavenger hunts, some of the geocaching or a fit cache, the walking challenge, and maybe you could just do it. Maybe we could just do it for like a week or something.
Yeah.
You know, I like some of the, well, I mean, I guess even my thoughts say like Gloria put out that string obstacle. Maybe, you know, that, I don't know, maybe they could post a picture of the one they made and tell us how, you know, they got through it and how long. I mean, that doesn't really take a week, but I guess maybe people could just have the week to do it.
Exactly. That's what I would say. So like those larger ones, I think it'd be unrealistic for someone to like say that wouldn't be reasonable, because absolutely I would set up weekly obstacles. Like that's what I've been recommending, right? Is like making it a weekly thing. And I think the larger you think, the bigger you could kind of make it in that sense. But by that I just mean, so for the younger kid one, I spoke a lot about like fundamental movement skills and stuff. So what you could do is create an obstacle course, and then every day or whatever you want to do, they have to work on a different fundamental movement skill throughout the course. So like they would keep the same obstacle course for the week, or whatever board game or whatever like large game you wanted to do, but then you work on different skills. So like hopping or throwing or rolling or somersaulting or running or skipping or whatever it is, adding in those kinds of elements and stuff. Because like there's like, if you look up fundamental movement skill checklist, you're going to be met with like 40 activities that they'll list for you, whether it's like balance, speed, or agility, and like you could throw any of those in there as like work on your balance this time or whatever it is, you know.
Yeah. Thank you.
No
But I
problem.
might be contacting you
Yeah,
again.
you can. I need work to do.
And
I tried to
we're told we're doing too much, and then in another breath, we're told we're not doing enough. I don't know.
No, I know it
And it-
sucks. Like I think we all almost feel that way, but it'd be worse to be told that, where we feel like we're not doing enough, or then we're doing too much, or then we're somewhere in the middle, and then every day it's like
Yeah.
we're on both. Yeah, I get it. I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know.
Right on.
I tried to explain today that for me anyway, if things and rules and step-by-steps are given to me, but I have to come up with what I'm doing,
Mhm.
I don't really work. Like, it's not easy then for me to come up with the ideas to go along with those step-by-step rules. Like,
Yeah.
I'm finding such a struggle right now. Of course, because nothing I ever do lately is good enough. So I'm,
Yeah.
I figure we're going to all figure something out and then we'll do it and it's not enough. So
Yeah. I know.
I just
All you
have
can
to
really do at this point is like keep trying. I know it's just frustrating. But hopefully,
But I mean,
yeah.
talking has definitely given me some, good ideas. So
For sure. Well, give me a call anytime.
All righty.
I'm glad we came on and listened to you today.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
it was good. I enjoyed it.
didn't have
And
to
like
talk
I say, a lot of this I've been researching because Aaron gave me these great websites I can go on, and I found a lot of these activities. But like I said to Aaron today, a lot of the parents, they don't want that. They just want to do their own thing until the stupid COVID-19 is over with.
Yeah.
And sure, it's great to get the kids interested, but you've got to have the kids' attention.
Yeah, it's so challenging, and I think it's really interesting, just like the different barriers that different families are experiencing. Some have a lot of success, and then some are like, "Oh my God, like what are we doing? What is happening? Like what?" Yeah,
Exactly.
and everyone's on a different page, and the hardest part is keeping any kind of routine. Like I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
This is like the first
Well,
day I
I
don't have a
think-
child with me, and I'm like, "Oh my God, like, whoa, night and day."
I mean, if the kids are having trouble, well, so are a lot of the parents. They don't know whether they're coming or going,
Exactly. Everyone is just stressed and it's a whole new thing. So all you can do
Exactly.
is just try
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But see, that's where I like, wait, for instance, this thing that you did today, like this presentation, that's what I would rather just say, here's an idea, try this,
Yeah.
but show us what you did if you want. Like, why
Mhm.
does it have to be rules? Not everybody wants to.
Yeah.
A lot of people like, there's an idea, I'll do it, but I don't really want to show everyone that I did it. Like, or that takes too
so
much.
That's like the difference between structured and unstructured, right? And how we should have a split of at least 50-50. Just throw that out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's great to track 50% of what we do, but then it's great to not have the added pressure of the extra time, because that can actually discourage participation for a lot of people. That's pressure and stress that deters them from participation, and that's why we talk about inclusive or inclusion, because
Okay, so on that,
anti-inclusive. So
on that, Beth, and I mean, you're right. Some things that's good for, but not everything. On that note, I mean, we were doing fun little activities that everyone could do. Parents could do with their kids, adults could do on their own, seniors could easily do. So, I mean, just tell me, as a recreation wellness professional yourself, how do you feel about having separated activities for different ages?
it definitely needs to be a blend. Like, it's perfectly great to have things where everyone has their own tasks and own things to do. That's really important. So it's not wrong to do stuff that way. Absolutely. But like, again, you have to have that balance where it's not just like, you have to go say, yeah, here's an activity for this age group and this age group and this age group, and go have fun and do that stuff. But then we also have to keep in mind, like, we're often families stuck together. And so you need to be able to provide activities and games and ideas that families can do together, regardless of age and skill level. So it's like, yeah, you have to be able to provide that holistic perspectives to stuff, right? So holistic, really taking into consideration not only the individual, but the individual and their environment and like their family and all that kind of stuff too, and how that social component's also really important, where we're encouraging partnership, not individuals. So it really is important to try and have both if you can, and that is my professional opinion.
Yeah. No, and I love that you said that. And I think a situation like this, you know, okay, splitting it up could be all right. The enterprise splits everything. You know, there's a program for this age group, there's a program for that and that and that. And yes, we have a community event, but that is such a struggle here.
Yeah. No,
it really, especially in such a small group, it really it discriminates in my
yeah. No, totally.
And sometimes you have to, but you know, because, well, what they're doing isn't safe for a child to be around. I get that. But at the same time, there needs to be a little bit less of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say just see how it goes for the first little bit and then get in touch. Tell me how it's going.
I might be calling you on Tuesday.
Yeah. I would love
it Monday.
Call me on Monday.
Well, I'm going to go do the safe thing. I'm going out for my walk with my dogs. That's my daily activity.
That's awesome. I'm going to do the same thing.
I might do that too.
To go out and
It was nice meeting you. I enjoyed your talk.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm glad you guys joined. And like I said, check in with me. I want to know how things are going.
Okay, bye for now.
Do.
Okay, sounds good.
Bye,
Awesome.
Beth, I'll go too.
Bye.
Yeah.